way crazier than that. Trust me. The man is uncontrollable. But really, it's you. Your support of the show is what has made it powerful, and it's kind of shocked Hollywood, because when they came down to see us, there was a blueprint for reality television. I wasn't aware of this. I didn't watch reality shows. And the blueprint was a lot of fits of rage, a lot of four-letter words, and a lot of friction. And they say through that you get drama. And that's what people want to watch. Well, we all just kind of looked around at each other, because we were like, look, what we're about is faith, family, and ducks in that order. My dad actually said, he's like, have you ever thought about maybe trying a functional family on TV? So they kind of hesitated, we were at odds, and then they met Uncle Si. And they said, you know what, we might try to make this thing work. That's hard to believe that Si wasn't even in the original plans of the show. So he is kind of hard to film, because I'm going to tell you something, Si does whatever he wants to do. So what you see is just snippets of uncontrolled Si behavior. Now look, some of the things on the show are not entirely accurate. Willie, he's not even close to being a competitor when it comes to fishing. Look, I learned this at an early age. When I was out commercial fishing the river with my dad, Willie was nowhere around. When we were duck hunting and testing the duck calls, nowhere to be found. And what I realized one day when we turned the boat over as kids, I realized the value of Willie. Some people are born to be fishermen, and some people are better at being a flotation device. That's it. I want to thank my dad for single-handedly bringing back the thumbs up, because now I see it everywhere. So, it's cool. What I do for a living is I make these duck calls. They're known to us as air traffic controllers. Some of you are a little slow here. Look, we're controlling the air with these duck calls, and that's what's fun. It's not just about the killing. At the end of the day, I love eating ducks. I think it's the greatest fast food you can eat on the earth. Especially on the grill with a jalapeno pepper and some cream cheese. I'm telling you, you try, and it's awesome. So you say, well, how do I make these work? Look, let me dispel the myth here. If you go to the World Championship duck calling contest in Stuttgart, this is what you're going to do. And the guy will feel good about that. The next guy will step up and he'll go. What do y'all think about that? Yeah. I appreciate it, but I'm going to tell you something. I've never heard a duck do that in the wild. And people do that all day long. Now look, I'm not knocking it. If you want to do that, great. It's not easy to do. You got to practice. And I've had people send me videos, and they show me the hole where they're hunting, and they're making that sound, and ducks are coming in there, and they're killing them. I'm like, look, I got news for you. They were coming in there anyway. Ducks do not do that, ever. Now people in Arkansas will say, well, that's just Arkansas style. But look, ducks don't change styles every time they cross a state line. They don't get it. The difference in us and animals, and one of the principles that we show on our show, is that humans are not animals. We're humans. The difference in us is when it comes to hunting and eating what we're hunting, we cook our food, we use seasoning, and we use weapons. Animals don't do that, ever. They just are creatures of instincts. And you say, well, why are you making a big deal about this? I'm going to tell you, if we live in a society where a bird's feather is deemed more valuable than an unborn human, that's a recipe for disaster. You look up some of the laws and you'll find that. I believe that we are created by a God in heaven. Not necessarily made in the USA, but made in heaven, as Philippians 3:20 says. Our citizenship is in heaven. Now look, if you believe that, then by deduction you believe that God is 100% just, holy, all-present, all-knowing, all-powerful. And if you're created in your mother's womb, then all of a sudden you're not junk, you're not an accident or a mistake, because God doesn't do that. So you're a masterpiece made by God. I know with a crowd this size, some of you say, well, I don't believe that. Well, look, I got two words for you. Good luck. I've never heard any other scenario that produces hope. You know, one of my buddies said, well, Jase, look, if you want to know the truth about it, we came from fish. There was a collision in space. I'm like, well, where did this stuff in space that collided, where did it come from? He's like, well, don't worry about that. What? This is what you're going with? He's like, yeah, there was one cell, and we swam around, and we jumped out of the water, and we grew a tail, and it fell off, and then boom, here we are. And now we're frying up what we used to be. That's what you're going with. Good luck with it. Good luck, because you're going to need it. If what you believe, the best scenario is for you just to be dead, look, I'm not going with you on that. I believe we're created, and by that, we're made on purpose with a purpose. One of the things we get to do as hunters, because that was God's idea. In Genesis 9, God told Noah, he said, look, from now on, the fear and dread of you will fall upon, and he listed 4 groups. The beast of the earth, the birds of the air, the crawlers on the ground, and the fish of the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves will be food for you, just as I gave you the green plants. Now look, some of you who may be a little slow, you say, so what did he say? Before the ark, humans just ate vegetables. They were all vegetarians, according to God. And then all of a sudden, he said, anything that walks, crawls, flies, or swims, you can kill it and grill it. And that sound that you heard from the animal world, run! That was the birthplace of hunting. When you get home, read Genesis 9. I just quoted it to you. That's what it said. Wasn't my idea. No, I love animals. We have pets. I do probably as much as anybody for the environment. We manage the animal kingdom. But we also realize that we are not animals. We are at the top of the food chain that God designed. My first encounter with God was not in a church building, because my parents were not Christian people when I was a kid. And it was mass chaos. It's pretty much about survival. We owned a bar for a living, and every night seemed to end with flashing lights in our yard. Same thing repeated every night. I noticed a drastic change in their life when I was 8 years old. And I'm going to tell you about that in a second. So my first contact with God came when I was hunting. And I looked around and I said, you know what? There's a design to this planet, when you start analyzing it, that demands a designer. Now when I got to school, they said, oh no, that's photosynthesis. You know, that's plants coming up and producing big watermelons out of a black sea. I'm like, well, who is this Mr. Photosynthesis? Because I need to meet this guy. They're like, no, that's just the process. We can explain the process, but we don't know where it's coming from. Look, I see a design. It's going to take way more faith for me to believe that this earth just happened by happenstance than to believe